All right, now we're going to consider how gametes are formed. Remember that gametes come in two types in humans. We have either eggs or sperm. And gametes are haploid, meaning that they only have one set of chromosomes. That also means that in normal adult cells, there are two copies of each trait. In a haploid gamete, there's only one copy of each trait. Gametes are produced during the process of meiosis. So let's consider this example here. In this example, sample problem 1, I want to know if the adult is the diploid organism whose genotype is capital D, lowercase d, capital E, lowercase e, capital F, lowercase f. How many different gametes can be formed from that combination? Let's first start by identifying how many traits are involved in this combination. In this combination, I have the D trait, so here's one trait right here. I have E's, so that's 2 traits, and I have F's, so 3 traits. So in each of my gametes, I want to make sure that I have one letter, one allele of each of these 3 traits. So for the first trait, there are 2 allele types. I can have a big D or a little d in my egg or sperm. For the second trait, the letters E, I can either have a big E or a little e. And for the third trait, the F trait, my options are big F and little f. Okay? These are the different possibilities for each of my alleles. Now, if I want to figure out how many total different combinations I can have, there's a few different ways to do this. Okay? First of all, if I just want to come up with a number of different combinations, the easiest way to do this is the following. I have 2 choices for D, 2 choices for E, and 2 for F. Okay? 2 choices, 2 choices, 2 choices. My total number of different combinations, 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 being 4, times 2 being 8. I have a total of 8 different possible gametes. This is all you need to do if the problem simply asks for the total number of different gametes. Figure out how many different options there are for each trait and multiply that number together. That's our shortcut. But if I wanted to know all the possible combinations, what all the different allele combinations were, I need to take it a step further. And this is where a tree comes in handy to make sure I've gotten all of my possible combinations. The best way to start the tree is to choose the first trait, which in this case is D. So I choose one of the 2 alleles. Let's start with capital D. Now, if my first allele is capital D, what are the options I have for the next trait? Well, I can have a capital D, and then I can have an uppercase E, or I can have a capital D and then a lowercase e. These are my 2 options. Let's pursue the top option first. If I have a capital D, a capital E, what are my options for the third trait? I can have a capital F, or my other possibility is a lowercase f. Let's repeat this process for the lowercase e. If my first trait is a capital D, my second choice may be a lowercase e. After lowercase e, I have the third trait to consider, the letter F, and I again have my 2 options, capital F or lowercase f. Okay? Now if I simply follow all of these through the pattern, there's one option, here's the second option of gamete, and so on. Let's write out what these end results are. For the first option, I can have capital D, capital E, capital F. Next, I can have capital D, capital E, lowercase f. Let's follow through for the bottom half of the tree. Capital D, lowercase e, capital F, capital D, lowercase e, lowercase f. I have 4 gametes, but I know from up here, from my shortcut, that I have 8 possible combinations. Where do the other 4 combinations come from? That's right, I have another choice for the letter D. Instead of my first trait and the first allele being the capital letter, it could as well be the lowercase letter, lowercase d. There's equal probability of either of these occurring. It's like flipping a penny. You have a 50-50 chance of getting heads versus tails. Let's construct the tree for the lowercase, beginning with the lowercase d as the first trait. In the same way I constructed the first tree, lowercase d, the next trait, I can either have a capital E or I can have a lowercase e. If I had chose a capital E, what are my options for the third trait, the letter F trait? I can have a capital F or I can have a lowercase f, equal probability. Likewise, if I chose the letter D first and then the lowercase letter e, I could also have a capital F or a lowercase f. Let's write out what the end results of this tree are. Capital D, capital E, capital F. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's correct that. Lowercase d, capital E, capital F. Lowercase d, capital E, lowercase f. Lowercase d, lowercase e, capital F. And lowercase d, lowercase e, lowercase f. Now I have my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different possible combinations. Each of these represents a gamete, an egg or a sperm. Notice that each of these eggs or each of these sperm have one allele of each of the 3 different traits that the parent began with. Whenever you're figuring out gametes, it's important that each trait is represented in the gamete. But instead of 2 copies that are found in the parent, the gametes have just 1 copy.